Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Penn Vicarage. Looks like a lovely sunny day outside. Great to have you with us this morning. Thank you for joining us for our Bible talk for today as we continue our adventure through the Psalms. And today we're in Psalm 122. We are working our way through a section of 15 Psalms from 122 through to 134, I think it is, which are called songs of ascent, songs of going up. So it's songs of pilgrimage, basically. And today is a Psalm of David. Hear more about that in a minute. So without further ado, beautiful psalm, this one, Psalm 122. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet are standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem built as a city that's bound firmly together. To it the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, as was decreed for Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. For there were thrones for judgment were set up, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls and security within your towers. For the sake of my relatives and friends, I will say, peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, everybody. Lovely psalm, this one, all about Jerusalem, and as I say, it's a Psalm of David. Let's look firstly at the structure. There are three sections of this psalm. There's verses 1 and 2 are a sort of statement of delight. It sounds like the pilgrims have arrived in Jerusalem, so there's the statement of delight, having got an arrival. Then there's verses 3 to 5, which are a kind of reflection, all about Jerusalem as the city of God, the city of peace, and so on. And then there's verses 6 to 9, which is a prayer for Jerusalem and encouraging people to pray for Jerusalem. So three sections, 1 and 2, statement of delight on arrival. 3 to 5 are all about statements, reflections all about the city of Jerusalem. And verses 6 to 9 are a prayer for Jerusalem. That's what we have this morning. Context, we're not entirely sure. It says it's a song. It says it's a song of David, interesting enough. And I think that is significant, actually. One of David's greatest achievements, apart from beating Goliath and one or two other things he did, was that he was the guy that made Jerusalem became the city of God. Prior to that, it had been, I think it was the place where the Jebusites used to be, and David set it up as the city. He conquered it and he made it. It was the one time when all the tribes were kind of united together. So he conquered and took Jerusalem, made it the city, and he also united the peoples. So I think it's ironic here, interesting, that David is the person that this psalm is of. He talks about Jerusalem built as a city, and when he was in charge, when he was king, was the one time when they were all kind of together as one. There were one under Solomon, his son, as well, but after that it all started getting fractured and so on. So I think it's interesting that it was the psalm of David. David's the guy that conquered it and made it Jerusalem what it is, but also it was the one time really when he established it as a united people. So I think you've got a psalm here with three sections in it, and then you've got written by David, and I think it's interesting, as I say, and significant that it was by him. So, what do we have? Verses 1 and 2. We have a statement of the joy of arrival. These pilgrims, we don't know where they've come from. I think it's more than a day out. I think they've come some considerable way by the sound of it, and they're reflecting on the fact that they were glad when they said, "Let's go," and they've arrived, and our feet are standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. I think that's absolutely lovely. The delight they have on arrival. And I suppose in a sense what it says to us is, in a sense, the Bible sometimes describes heaven as being a new Jerusalem. You want a couple of verses for this. Isaiah 65, verses 17 to 25, a picture of the new Jerusalem in Isaiah, and also a picture in Revelation, of course, Revelation chapter 21. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, but the new heavenly city, the new Jerusalem coming down on heaven from God. So Jerusalem 21, and in a couple of other places as well. So I think for us, we can think of the arrival in Jerusalem in a sense a bit like arrival home, our final home, which is in heaven, to look forward to. But I think it's also important that for these pilgrims, they'll have gone back home again, and they'll have continued their journey through life. They won't just stay in Jerusalem forever. They'll have gone to Jerusalem and then they'll have probably gone home or carried on doing whatever they were going to do before. And I think it's interesting. It says that our feet are standing within your gates. And I think, okay, we have heaven to look forward to, but I think what we need is foretastes of heaven in the meantime as well. So we can enjoy those times, for example, when we're worshipping God in church sometimes, and we get kind of taken up, when we kind of enjoy, we kind of get a foretaste of heaven, or you're amongst a group of people and there's a great act, something, and you can sort of feel the love somehow, that we're amongst a loving community. Or it could be a foretaste in terms of you're reading the scriptures, and it falls into place, and all these kind of foretastes of heaven. So it's important for us that we can enjoy, we can look forward to our New Jerusalem, which we can enjoy one day. But in the meantime, let's appreciate the kind of the foretaste that we get in the meantime. That there's a bit like arrival in pilgrimage, those times where we can enjoy those foretastes of heaven in the meantime. So 1 and 2 is about arrival at your final destination, which we have, of course, our heavenly city, our heavenly Jerusalem, which is heaven. But in the meantime, we can get foretaste in the meantime too. Then we'll look at the second section, verses 3 to 5. Now, interesting was Jerusalem. Jerusalem means Jeru Shalom, which means city of peace. But it's a bit ironic because, that's what it's meant to be. And it's meant to be a place bound together and which the tribes go up. Unfortunately, it's not always been the case, has it? It often wasn't the case in the times of the Bible. It was only two kings after David, and a guy called Rehoboam, and the kingdom was split. It wasn't unified then. It wasn't unified in Jesus' time. Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't have had to go into the temple and turn it upside down. And let's be honest, it certainly isn't a unified, peaceful place today. But I think, in a sense, we forget actually what Jerusalem is meant to be. And I think actually it is reminded, I think it's in Isaiah chapter 2. It's a place where the tribes grow up, the tribes of the Lord, but also it's meant to be a house of prayer for all the nations. And that's what the Jerusalem was always kind of meant to be. And if you read it carefully, it's a place where it's decreed for Israel to give thanks to the name of the Lord. It's not a place where we're supposed to gloat over others. It's a place where we are supposed to go and give thanks. It was always meant to be a house of prayer for all nations. It was there meant to be for everybody. And I think we forget that at our peril. And actually, in a sense, for the church today, we need to remember that too. That in a sense, we are not just meant to be there for ourselves. We're meant to be there as a blessing for the community. I'm really glad actually that our church St. Bart's is always open. That people can always come in and pray at any time they like, and that anybody is genuinely welcome. And it's important that we do that. So Jerusalem hasn't always been a particularly peaceful place, and it certainly hasn't always been a unified place. Mind you, as the church, we're on pretty dodgy ground here. We have to be careful what we say. But we need to remember, in a sense, what Jerusalem was always meant to be. It was meant to be a place where we go and give thanks, It's not just meant to be, we're supposed to just go and hog the blessing for ourselves. We're meant to thank God. And secondly, we're meant to be a house of prayer for all the nations. And we should therefore be a blessing to the community around us. And then finally, in verses 6 to 9, there's David instructs us here to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. May peace be within your walls. And he talks about, for the sake of the household, I will seek your good. So there's a couple of things here. First is about praying, in our case, praying for the church, actually. In a sense that we are the people of God. And actually, we look around us, and it's easy to knock the church. It's a church is full of fallible human beings like us, really. What do they say, don't they? If you find a perfect church, don't join it because you'll spoil it. They say, don't they? And actually, it's important. But it's important that we pray for the church. Actually, that we pray for our church. That we pray for the church of God, and that when difficult things happen, that we pray, and that we seek the good of the church of God. But I quite like this also. It says here, for the sake of the Lord your God, I will seek your good. And it's actually important that we say that for our community, that we are set where we are. God has placed us where we are. And therefore we should pray for the community around us. We shouldn't just pray. We shouldn't just be a holy huddle ourselves. But in our case, we should pray for Wolverhampton. We should pray for Penn. We should pray for our community and seek its good as well. So, we have a lovely little psalm here, and I keep thinking, I think was it Parry at the anthem, I was glad when they said to me, it's a lovely psalm in 3 sections, which is a delight in arrival of the pilgrim destination. Secondly, a reflection on the city of God. And thirdly, a prayer for Jerusalem. And in our case, it means Remember, joy of arrival, also about arrival, which we can arrival in heaven, and enjoy those foretastes of heavenly banquet in the meantime. There's glimpses of heaven that we get in the meantime. Secondly, that Jerusalem hasn't always been a peaceful place, but it needs to be a place, where we're supposed to give thanks to God. And secondly, it's always meant to be a house of prayer for all nations. And there's a massive message in there that the blessing is not meant to be kept, it's meant to be passed on. And finally, also that as we are told here, David instructs us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So we should pray for the church in our own day too. Friends, God bless you. I hope you've found that helpful. And don't forget to pass these messages on to your friends.